how Jesus transforms us and the way we act is what I'm going to call being missional. And that's not an original term for me. You're going to hear it more as churches become more modern and contemporary. It's being missional. And it's different from evangelism in that missional, it's called missiology in the study. Being missional is a mindset, it's a heart issue that is centered on Christ. Whereas evangelism tends to be a program-oriented event kind of thing that's centered on results. And so being missional has a very loving kind of basis behind it because it's steeped in the gospel, steeped in Christ. And basically, the basis of it is when we go back to creation and God knew and God saw our sin, God loved us and He made us His mission. God made us His mission. And so when Jesus came to earth, He had His mission of salvation ready to go. And now, you and I are saved. And now, like God, like Jesus, like so many men of God before in Scripture, we now have a mission to go spread that love, spread Jesus to where people don't know Him. Do you guys follow? That's the basis of being missional. And so, there's a ton of books and resources on this. If this interests you, which I'm sure you know, being Christians, it does interest you. There's this guy named Ed Stetzer. He's a great author. He's written a ton of books on this kind of thing. It's very, very practical, very good for organizations and just coming up with cool events for your local culture. And speaking of local culture, a good definition for being missional, it means that everyone around us in our local culture, they're our mission now, all the time. There's no, sure, let's get a group of people and let's get our Bible study once a semester to go on campus and talk to people. Sure, I'm going to go on a mission trip and that's going to settle what I need to do. Excuse me, for God. That's not what being missional is about. Like I said, being missional is a heart thing. It's when Jesus pervades every bit of you and affects everything about you, and even in the way you talk. And no, I'm not saying you have to talk about Him all the time. I'm not saying you have to go to McDonald's with pamphlets and say, hey, guess what? Hell's going to be worse for you than your French fries. It's not like that. I'm just saying, my girlfriend is sitting up there. I love her. She's beautiful. Almost 5 years. We're high school sweethearts. And I love her. She's a part of me. And, when she's not around me, I think about her, and I naturally talk about her all the time. I just do. Even to my friends, my guy friends, I do. And it's like that with Jesus. If we love Jesus, it's the same exact thing. You don't have to talk about Him all the time, but it should naturally come out because you love Him, and because He's done something extraordinary in your life. You guys get me? All right. So, second problem, and this is kind of where people get squeamish. We're talking about missional, talking about, all right, good, this is awesome, going out. Then we think, all right, now you guys should go out individually. And that's when people get kind of squeamish. It's kind of like, oh, it's awkward, I don't know if I want to do that. And so, the second problem with evangelism, the first one was that we've twisted it into something it's not. The second one being that we often get scared about going out to make disciples. We're often scared of making disciples. And so, when we plan to go do things, we let our sin get in the way, and often we get scared. And I don't know how long you guys have been Christians for, but I've been a Christian for a while. I'm guilty of this, and I've seen this happen, heard it in conversations. There's a lot of funny excuses that people make when you want to go do something, and you want to, take some time in investing in new people and seeing where God is in people's lives. And so I've come up with 3 kind of general personalities for you. And so the first one is, hey man, let's go and share our faith. I'm too busy, he's checking his watch he doesn't have, he's pulling out his iPhone, which has Fruit Ninja ready because he's, so busy. And it's like, bro, it's April 30th, what are you doing? Oh, I'm getting ready for law school. So that's one of the first reactions. The second one, which I think is pretty funny, because I've seen this a lot, is the seasoned veteran. And now this guy, when you ask him to go share your faith, he'll act like, hey, you want to go share your faith, next week, let's plan it out. Oh, I don't know, man, I'm really exhausted. I think you should. I think it'd be really good for you. Go ahead and take one for the team. He's been out every day for 200 days fasting at the same time. It's a war chief thing, and he's got a sleeve of scallops and he's satisfied or something. And so, he's not really a veteran. The funniest thing about it is the only thing he's a veteran at is being lazy, because he probably hasn't done too much ministry at all. So that's the second one I've seen. The third one, which I appreciate the most, and I gotta respect the most, are the shy kids who don't know what they're doing, and they'll be honest about it. I gotta respect them the most. You ask them, hey, do you want to go share your faith? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Honestly, I'd really rather just go to Mochi. And it's like, when you don't want to, you just default to Mochi, right? Mochi's really good. And it's like, I respect these guys the most because they're honest, they don't know what they're doing, and usually with a lot of encouragement and, some good spiritual pushing, these guys can really get comfortable with it and really get somewhere. I mean, honesty is the best policy. Now, I know it really can be a little uncomfortable and a little awkward the first couple times that, you go out and share your faith, but there's actually a really, really good book. It's called The Reason for God by Tim Keller. I encourage you all to read it. I've been sharing faith, for a while, but when I read this book 2 years ago, it completely changed everything. And so if you really are passionate about that and you really want to go share your faith, but you're not feeling as confident, definitely pick up that resource. Go through that with a couple of people. It's a very, very good, solid book. Now, one of the other things that really contributes to our rejection and our fear and our sinfulness over not wanting to go out and share our faith. I almost cut it off and go out. I could have had a bad implication. It's that often our consumerism mixes in with our sinfulness. And we all live in a consumeristic society, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think free enterprise, free market, it's a great thing. However, when our sin mixes in with that and we take it to an extreme, we really end up in a very dangerous place. So let's think about consumerism a little bit. We feel entitled to things, we give and we expect to get back. What things we have, we deserve to have them and they're ours. They're nobody else's. We don't have to share it if we don't want to. Basically, it comes down to a philosophy of doing. What am I doing right? What am I not doing right? What do I have to do to get this? And so this has really, really bad effects on us as Christians when we approach a book like the Bible. Because when you read the Bible, it's all about knowing God more. You read the Bible to learn about who God is. Context is very important, so you can get the lens of the author, and you can really learn more about God as to what's going on back then. And then it seems like after that, when I pray and I read, I'm like, God, thank you for this. This is really cool. I never thought about this before. This is really awesome. God's depths of love and grace and mercy are endless. And I love knowing more about God. And usually somewhere, depending on what I'm reading, it's kind of like, all right, God, how can I relate this to what I'm going through today? How can I get some application? But when we kind of fall into this consumeristic viewpoint, we just go straight to application. And it's like, all right, what am I getting out of this? What am I going to do? And so I got two examples, two passages for you. One was right here in Romans, and I'll show you how this works out. Romans 15. How beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news. Now, the first thought is that's really cool. It's really nice. And it is. Beautiful feet. Sure. Who doesn't want beautiful feet, I guess? Our first thought when we're being consumeristic is, I've got beautiful feet. If I go and talk to people about Jesus, God's going to be happy with me. I'm going to have nice feet because I went out and talked to people. And that's not right. The thing is that our feet are beautiful because of the message we carry. The gospel is beautiful, and since we carry it, then our feet are beautiful. It's not because of what we do. We get into this track of, what am I doing? What am I doing? And so another passage, which is definitely one of my favorites, over in 1 John 3:17. This is a huge example of it. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? That's a pretty scary verse, right? You can think, there was this guy, he dropped his stuff, I wanted to help but I didn't, or something serious, I wanted to help but I didn't. And it's like, I cut off my compassion. It's not that you didn't have compassion, it's you had it and you cut it off. And then it's like, well, am I a Christian? Do I love Jesus? Do I love other people? And we start wondering what we have to do in order to get right back on track with God, in order so that we can say, all right, I'm good. It's religious. It's back on what we're doing. It's what can I do to say that I'm good and pat myself on the back at the end of the day. But that's not what John is saying here. What John is saying is it's not that you're doing something right or wrong. It's that the power of Christ transforms you so that you will not shut off compassion towards people. And the reason I know that is because in the verse before that, he says, by this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. So he starts with Christ and what Christ did and shows the love that it can produce in us. The focus is not on us. The focus is on Christ. The focus is on his power and his love and what he does and how that transforms us. You guys follow me? Excuse me. And so we feel convicted and we tend to ask, what am I doing wrong? And the question is not, what am I doing wrong? I really hope you've been getting kind of the pattern here of keeping Christ the center, of being missional and the mindset thing. The question we should ask with this and with our issues with evangelism and even other stuff is, where's my heart? And when you get to that point and you have enough humility to ask yourself that and say, where's my heart? That's when we can really start looking at the solution and really start finding out what's up. Do you guys want to know the solution? I mean, y'all probably know at this point. It's been all through the sermon. It's Jesus. We have to give all of our concerns and everything back to Jesus. The life